All right, so let's talk about GMO foods for a little bit, because I was talking about riboflavin, thiamine, and niacin in a different video, and similar to that, you do hear, well, I hear a lot of people, I'm sure you do as well, hear a lot of people saying that GMO foods are bad for you and you should avoid them. But also similar to riboflavin, niacin, and thiamine, is that I never hear anybody say why specifically they are bad for you. You just hear people say, don't eat this, it's GMO, it's bad for you. But they never say why. What does it do? You know, what does it cause? What happens when you eat GMO foods? So I decided to do a little research into the matter. Now, TLDR, no, they're not bad for you. Or more specifically, there is currently no evidence that suggests that GMO foods causes any kind of disease or harm to human beings. Now, of course, whether or not you eat GMO foods, that's entirely up to you. I ain't trying to tell you what you should and shouldn't do with your body. You know your body better than anybody knows your body. So if you don't want to eat GMO foods for whatever reason, that's fine. I'm just saying that as of right now, there is no evidence to suggest that consuming GMO foods causes any kind of harm to humans. So anytime you hear somebody saying, don't eat GMO foods because it's bad for you, maybe take that with a huge pinch of salt. Like where you get your information from, huh? And if you got that reference, put it in the comments. So GMO stands for genetically modified organism. So they're foods where the genetics have been modified so they could maybe grow faster or resist pesticides or look more vibrant in color or taste sweeter, various things like that. Now there's lots of reasons why it's done, but the biggest reason, or at least the biggest reason I can find, fact is organic food just doesn't grow fast enough to meet the current world population demands. Now there's a whole conversation to be had about whether there's just too many people in the world, but that's not this video. Bottom line is, to meet demands of the world population that is still growing, organic food just doesn't grow fast enough. Now, as far as things like pesticides and herbicides go, they are washed off. In fact, there are regulations about how much residue can be left behind so that it's safe for people to eat. So any herbicide or pesticide residue left on your food is not going to cause any harm either. That said, you should just wash your food anyway. I don't care if it says already washed, ready to eat. Wash your food anyway. And that's the same with organic foods as well, by the way. They still use pesticides and herbicides. They just use different types of pesticides and herbicides. It's still washed off. There's still a potential for residue. There's still regulations about how much could be left behind, but still wash your damn food anyway. Now, as far as legit concerns about GMO foods, though, there are some, but they're mainly to do with environmental issues. For example, if you're modifying food to resist pesticides, and then you're spraying those foods with pesticides to avoid pests eating them, by the way, even though the foods themselves can resist those pesticides, what happens when bees and other insects cross-pollinate? You could potentially be taking genetics from one plant to another plant that isn't supposed to have those genetics. And also with herbicides to kill off the weeds, over time you may end up with weeds that are immune to herbicides. So now you have to use stronger herbicides, and what are the effects of that? So there are legit concerns about GMO foods. However, there's lots of rules, regulations, and systems in place to mitigate those concerns. But as far as humans go, there is, as of right now, no evidence to suggest that GMO foods are bad for you or cause any kinds of diseases or anything like that. And anybody telling you otherwise probably just heard it on like a Facebook chat group or something, and then we're like, oh, that must be the truth then. Anyway, I ain't no food expert, scientist, nutrition guy, so there's no good reason for you to listen to me. Do your own research. But I think by the fact that most of us have been consuming GMO foods for decades at this point,